Hello everybody. Okay, so in this clip we're going to start looking at the book of Genesis, which is the first book in the Bible. And in Genesis, it actually takes us through from creation to Adam and Eve, their story, their children, Noah and the flood. We're going to look at Abraham, Isaac, how he meets Rachel, Jacob, their son. We're going to also have a look at Joseph and how he ends up in Egypt, and how Jacob ends up coming to Egypt and what happens there. It's probably one of my favourite stories, what happens to Joseph. I won't jump, but just how, even when bad things happen, how God can turn it into a positive. And sometimes I heard this saying once that said, you live life forwards but you don't understand it except backwards. What does that mean? That you've got to go through things, and then when you look back and you say, wow, I had to go through that, and this happened, but the conclusion, there was a positive. So yeah, it's a beautiful story of hope, even when things seem hopeless. But yes, so Genesis. So in Genesis, we start with creation, and that's probably all we're going to go through in this video, because I think there is much to cover here. Sound like that. Was it the Dracula in Sesame Street? Oh, what number are we looking at? Anyway, sorry, focus. So, chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Before I go on, this is one of the main claims of the Bible, right? And belief that God created the heavens and the earth, that's one of the foundational things in believing. A lot of people might say, well, we believe in science. We can't believe a few words that are written. But I'll tell you what, I'll tell you a little secret about myself. I am a woman of science. My base degree was medical science. I went on to do a master's medical science and drug development. It all sounds so amazing. But the point is that I have studied science enough to know that, on the contrary, the more you look into science and the more you look into facts, the more it's actually supported my belief system and never contradicted. And I'll tell you what, one thing on your journey through the Bible and the facts, right? If you're still at the level that you're still exploring and still trying to find and seeking, if you are a true seeker of the truth, the Bible doesn't disappear the more you look into facts. And if facts are what you need, then you need to, continue your search with that assumption or that foundation that, yes, I am seeking the truth. And just, I encourage you to ask and search and question and seek, and because I know that because the Bible is true, it doesn't disappear, it doesn't diminish. The truth, if it's not the truth, it will diminish, but it doesn't diminish. So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Then God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So the evening and the morning were the first day. I always, and a lot of this I'm just going to share with you how I feel about it, but I always find it amazing that the first thing that God created was light. Light separated light from darkness. There are many areas in our lives where sometimes it is shaded by darkness. Areas of our hearts and minds and, dealings perhaps, whatever it may be, but it shows how important light is in those dark places. And God spoke light. I encourage you that if there are areas of darkness, that whether bad circumstances or dark thoughts or, turbid things in the heart, invite God with his light. Ask him, shine your light. You are the creator of light. You said, let there be light, and there was light. Come shine into my heart. Ask God, and he will, because he can, and he does. Ooh. So then God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. Thus God made the firmament. Now, let me say, firmament means heaven. Yeah, because I had to look that up. I'm like, what is firmament? What is firmament? But if we are to summarize, because I could go through and read the whole thing to you, but let me say, so day one, he said, light and dark. He created light and then divided the light from the darkness. Day two, he created the heavens. Day three, he got land to appear, and there was sea and grass and fruits. Day four, the sun and moon and the stars. Day five, fish of the sea and birds of the air. Day six, all the other animals, and then Adam and Eve, and then day seven, God rested. Which it's important to rest. As we have also discovered in this season of COVID, I don't know what year you're going to watch this in, but as we've discovered, everyone's at home and everyone's on the go. Oh my God, it's work, it's the kids, it's this, it's so important in the crazy weeks and days that we live, and even without COVID, normally in day-to-day life. I think it's so important to have time out for yourself, to rest. God rested. Surely we need a rest. He emphasizes the importance of it. So I wanted to focus on some of the verses here when he creates. Verse 11, then God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb that yields seed, and the fruit trees that yields fruit according to its kind, whose seed is in itself on the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, the herb that yields seed according to its kind, and the tree that yields fruit, whose seeds is in itself according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. So the evening and the morning were the third day. And then if we jump to verse 20, then God said, let the waters abound and an abundance of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the face of the firmament of the heavens. So God created great sea creatures and every living thing that moves, with which the waters abounded, according to their kind. And every winged bird according to its kind. God blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply. And then if we jump to, sorry I'm jumping, but there's method to the madness, I promise. Verse 24, then God said, let the earth bring forth the living creatures according to its kind, cattle and creeping thing and beasts of the earth, each according to its kind. And it was so. And God created the beast of the earth according to its kind, cattle according to its kind, and everything that creeps the earth according to its kind. And we'll go on to how he created man, but I find it so interesting that the Bible is so particular. As you journey through the Bible, nothing is a coincidence, right? Nothing's said just because. And also the thing about it, the more you read it, the more it's like a treasure box that just keeps producing more and more and more. So the more you look into it, the more there's little treasures and things that it still produces. So I find it so amazing being a woman of science that it's so particular in talking about each according to its kind. So at that point in time, each of these living creatures were created, each kind according to its kind, whether it was plant, whether it was fish, whether it was bird, whether it was cow, whether it was donkey. And then humans are created totally different to the evolution theory, right? And I say theory because theory, right? It's not scientific proven fact. Unfortunately it is taught as though it is, but it isn't. Just considering DNA replication. The more you look into science, I'm telling you, the more. There's a lovely book that I'd read, it was called The God Factor, and it was written by, I don't know whether it was 20 or 40 Australian scientists from different disciplines. And basically each of them explained why they believe in God from the perspective of their discipline. So whether it was physics or chemistry or biochemistry or engineering or whatever it was, whatever discipline it was, they went through and highlighted why they believe in God from a scientific perspective. So very interesting how it goes through to specify each according to its kind. Now, disproving evolution is not really my aim in this. It's really going through the Bible. However, a lot of people see science as a stumbling block to faith. So I think it's important to just stop and ponder a little bit and say, even from a fossil perspective, if we're going to talk about fossil evidence, right, there is a layer in the Earth's crust, which is called the Cambrian explosion. So if you study geology and the different layers and crusts of the Earth, and there is a layer which basically has all the organisms in that one point in time. That already disproves it from a fossil, disproves evolution from a fossil kind of angle. Everything was created back then, but yeah, for me, I see it from a biochemistry, cell signaling, cell division, DNA perspective of why it's practically impossible. So then, verse 26, then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So God created man in his own image. God created him, male and female, he created them. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living creature that moves on the earth. And God said, See, I have given you every herb that yields seed which is on the face of the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it shall be for food. Also to every beast of the earth, to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth, in which there is life, I have given every green herb for food. And it was so. Then God saw everything that he had made, and indeed it was very good. So the evening and the morning were the sixth day. Thus the heavens and the earth and all the host of them were finished, and on the seventh day God ended his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which he had created. This is the history of the heavens and the earth, when they were created, in the day of the Lord God. In the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens, before any plant of the field was in the earth, and before any herb of the field had grown. For the Lord God had not caused it to rain on the earth. And there was no man to till the ground, but a mist went up from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. So, this was a live session. I'll be like, so, tell me, what do you think? What questions do you have? Yeah. So the book of Genesis was actually written by Moses, just for information. I should have actually looked at all the details to give you a run through of Genesis as a book, but basically tradition in the old Jewish system was that it was passed on from one generation to the other. So on that note, I shall leave you with the creation of the world. Till our next session. Goodbye.